Okay, we should be up and running.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
It is Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. I'm calling our meeting to order at this meeting of HPRC to order at 5:58 p.m. Wonder if you could go through roll call.
Megan Vickers.
Here.
Lisa Manifold.
Here.
Patty Tyler.
Here.
Rachel Turry.
Here.
Michael Davenport.
Here.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look through the minutes? Do I have a motion for approval of minutes from May 18th, 2021? Oh, is it? No.
November 6th.
November 6th. Sorry, I was looking at the minutes. November 16th, 2021.
I motion to approve the minutes from November 16th, 2021.
Second. Any discussion, comments, corrections? No?
No.
All in favor of approval of the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain because I wasn't on board.
Okay. Approved unanimously with those of us who were here. All right, new business, public hearings. So we have 3 items on our agenda tonight. The first one is the landscape improvement plans of the library, 219 14th Avenue. This is the certificate of appropriateness renewal / amendment. We have approved this before, but it has expired. Our COAs only are good for 6 months. And so they want to come back and have it reapproved. And my understanding is we're splitting it into 2 separate projects, correct? Is that?
That is
Karen?
correct. So one of the main reasons why you're seeing this, not only as the chair mentioned, that it is overdue, but also that so city staff did this project out after the last COA was issued, and it came back really high. And city council wasn't quite prepared to expend those funds because, as I mentioned, it was a little higher than was budgeted for. Our hope is that we're going to break it out into 2 different bid packets. So the last time it was all 1 bid packet. Now, and we do have well done as well. 2 different bid packets. So the goal is that hopefully the landscaping portion of it will be bid on by somebody who does landscaping, and that who's kind of specializes in that, and then the tuck pointing and other building amenities that are planning on being worked on will hopefully be bid on by a contractor that does that type of work. So we do have Tim and Chris Hain on as well, representing the city also, as they were the architects and designers on the project. So do you have anything to add in regards to the library project, Tim or Chris? Oh, I think you're muted.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jared, what did you say?
I just gave a brief update that we're looking to break the bidding process into 2 different categories for the library process. And so we're looking to just update that COA that was originally approved last summer. So I wasn't sure if you had anything to add. It's the same plans, you may not.
Right,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, we did update our drawings, our documents after we had our last HPRC meeting with everyone, where we did retain the man door. So
That's I'm sorry, that's actually for the next item. We're on the library item. We'll get to that.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Yes, we did. Yeah, we've had our documents completed. We had them reviewed by the State Historical Fund. There were a few modifications that were made to the plans after we walked the site with Andy, John Bordoni, and Libby. And those modifications were approved by the State Historical Fund. And also, I think those are the same documents that you reviewed and approved previously.
Yes.
I have a question. So will we see another application for building improvements?
Those are still on, it's all on the
It's all
same
still on the
plan
same,
set.
okay,
It's just going to be the bidding. So we did
Okay.
not break it out for the HPRC.
okay. I just was confused because it, on the suggested motion, it talked about proposed landscape. So that's,
So,
any questions or discussion?
I might suggest when we look at doing some code changes to consider lengthening how long a CO or COA lasts. Particularly with the state of construction in the metro area now, where it's difficult even getting contractors, it makes sense to say maybe go to a year rather than 6 months.
Right, I think that is a valid discussion to have.
Yes.
Yeah,
It seems like a really good suggestion.
Is this also, do we also hope that this will allow for people that specialize only in the building aspects and then specialize only in landscaping versus somebody that has to have two?
correct, yeah. So, yeah, and this isn't a done deal that will move forward. We do have to get the bids in first, but we're certainly hoping that to, acquire more favorable bids in effort to move forward with the construction.
What is the city's budget? I was not on
Oh.
council, so I don't know what the city's budget
It was around
was.
300,000.
Well, that was what the bids.
Last year.
I think I believe that was about double what we had originally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a bit.
That's what the city approved for it. Sorry.
I recall off the top of my head, I know that was what we kind of ballparked, and then it came in at about double the price. Yeah. It is a public hearing as well, so.
I realized I skipped public comment.
Okay, no
Yeah.
worries.
So,
Do we know, I have one other question. Do we know if the city is amenable to any kind of budget change if we just can't seem to get a bid that's down to our original because of the construction environment?
I believe, any bid that comes in will have to go back to city council, and they would be able to make the call as to, to bring funds from someplace else to meet any shortfall in the budget if they so choose.
Because this has been going on a long time, like, we had 5 years.
15 years or.
Yes, yeah.
That's at their discretion, but we
Okay.
can certainly add.
before we put out a vote, I want to backtrack because I did realize that this is a public hearing and we have people. So, before we vote on anything, I'd like to know, do we have any public comments this evening?
Oh, I don't know if it's specific on this hearing though.
L. Dean Clark?
That would be me.
Yes.
And as I was listening to you going about the technical aspects of
Mr. Clark, can you please say?
LD Clark,
Okay.
410 Colorado Boulevard, Idaho Springs. I'm on the local Idaho Springs Public Library Board. I speak for the library, I speak for myself, I speak for my family, and hopefully some citizens here.
Excellent.
All right,
Can
the
you raise your right hand and do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
right.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
I
that.
will, even though it's highly opinionated. We just want to ensure the landscape library plan elements are adhered to. There are elements that tie to our funding. We wouldn't want to see that be in jeopardy of, say, an action inconsistent with the funds that Haynes used and are continuing to use in our behalf. So an action outside the scope of that plan that's approved would jeopardize our past funding and perhaps future prospects. So I urge caution in any variations from the plan as approved. So if I can defer any other comments on the hose house until that comes up, that concludes my statement.
We need to do all public comment before we
No,
get in.
We can go through this items, and then we can call
And then
for
you-
public comment
okay.
for the next one.
Okay. And I've
Are
read,
we allowed to, are we allowed to question? Public comment, folks?
That's up to the chair.
I am okay with it if you have a question.
I do. Sir, can you tell me if there are things that, does this plan, have you seen all of the plans
Well,
that are
I'm
submitted
not,
to us?
I am not sure if I've seen the last iteration.
Mhm.
But again, speaking for the community, there's been 15 years of collaboration, some conflict resolution to get to this point.
Mhm.
And we sure don't want it boogered up by not following proper procedures.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Fred Clark?
I'm just here. Oh, okay.
Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Fred Clark, 6485 North Flora Avenue, Fresno, California, 93710.
All right, do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
To the best of my opinion.
Thank you.
No, I just came with my brother to give him a little support and to enjoy another social evening in Idaho Springs, watching democracy in action.
Thank you. That will conclude our public comment section of the hearing regarding the landscape improvement plan. Go back into our session. For our commission, any other further comments, questions about that plan that we need to discuss before?
Oh, as always. So, and I don't know if this is something that Libby can answer, because Mike brings up a good point. Is there anything in this that would affect your funding, past or present?
Well,
Because I would hate to do that.
we have the covenant with the state historic fund, so everything that's approved in the plan, we need to make sure is followed. I know there's been discussion about possible other options, and I just want to make sure if that process is taken, that we have the state historic fund sign off on it, and also keep communication open with the library about how our services might be affected by any changes. I guess I was most curious about the amendment, and I'm assuming the amendment is just to break the project into two pieces and not change the project.
If I may, that is correct. So there was an amendment. So this has already gone through 2 COAs actually. So I might have skipped over one.
I've been-
So there was the first one. We did make some amendments. That was also subsequently approved by the state. And then came back in, I believe it was August, and was provided a COA from the Historic Preservation Review Committee. So at this point, we are not planning or proposing any changes to that plan set that was approved back in August, and which was, as I mentioned, approved previously by the state as well. That is currently our goal. You are absolutely correct. If something changes, we have to go back through the state, et cetera, and get their review of it. So, and then this commission as well.
But that was the change for the memorial. Because when I look at the first set of plans that I saw, there was a different memorial suggestion, and the second, August 2021, was keeping the existing memorial.
Yeah, I
Which
believe-
is completed.
I don't think there was anything else that was a change, was there? I mean, just looking at my folks.
I
So,
think- Yeah, there might have been a couple minor, there was a
Stage?
sidewalk that had been, there was a little
Did
stage.
the stage get deleted? Or is it
Yeah.
Oh, that's right,
And
the
there was
stage
a
was-
sidewalk that led to that stage at the time too. So there were a few other things. It did get narrowed down a little bit in scope from its original.
But this August 2021 has already been through the state.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Right, I was saying, and this is the same as what we've approved in the past. It's just a reapproval or
Yeah,
a resubmission of the application.
yes.
Ask when we were putting out proposals.
Hopefully shortly after the approved, that's
And how long do you guys normally have that? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, if we got a decent bid proposal and council approved it, would that be this summer that we would be working on this? I can feel the impatience.
That would be early, either kind of end of summer or fall at the
Okay.
very earliest, just because of that process. And then, of course, we don't know what the mobilization period would be for a contractor as well.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to be, give you too early of a.
Oh, no, I just was
Possibility.
looking for what our timeline was.
Yeah, if we could get it done this fall, it'd be fantastic. And some of the landscape components, hardscape could maybe be put in, but some of the grass, et cetera, may have to wait until the spring or something like that. But if we can get it in the fall, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I would.
I have the question that I absolutely should know the answer to.
Okay.
So if our COAs are good for 6 months, does the project have to be complete in that 6 months or just started in that
I
6
believe
months?
it's just the started,
Okay,
because we understand that construction on a number of, historic structures, et cetera, take quite a
Right.
longer than 6 months.
that's kind of what I assumed, but yeah. Just wanted to clarify. Any more discussion? Does anybody want to make a motion regarding this plan?
I motion that we approve the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed landscape improvements to the library site.
Wait a second.
Second.
Rachel, all in favor? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. All right. Agenda item number 2, proposed rehabilitation of the host house number 2 at 600 Colorado Boulevard. Again, this is a project that has already gone through a COA but has expired. Before we talk about it as a commission, we'll go back to public comments and we'll go back to my list. If Mr. Clark would like to speak.
Thank you. Do we need to go through the thing again?
We do not. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, the funding, I understand from the city, is being allocated. They have bids. I may not be sure on this, but I will say that it's just in time. The weathering and deterioration has really advanced since the last assessment that the Haynes provided. And so we can't wait through too many more seasons before this not only legacy and treasure, but also a potentially functional element in future community protection is observed. The reasons it was constructed, I think in 1886, was for the protection, fire protection of the community on that end, and served its role faithfully. Now circumstances have changed. It's not so much just houses and mines, but now we have a wildfire threat that's exacerbated our local conditions, and the location and the condition of this facility and its rehabilitation, not just restoration and fidelity with the historical principles, but storage for hose, appliances, firefighting equipment may be key in protecting this community. And further on that element is the heretofore, it's been controversial, the Cyrene and its supporting superstructure was built in 1917, not just for fire, but to warn the community of all emergencies. And in fact, even today with cooperation of the library and getting folks on code red, there's still many members of this that don't subscribe to the technology. Restoration of this siren to its historical condition will not only be consistent with our charge, but also enhance safety of our people.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Clark? Are there any other public comment? Okay. Thank you. We'll move into the non-public comment portion of this. And again, this is my understanding, and Jared, you can jump in on this is the same proposal that we have already approved in the past. Is that correct?
There's been an
There's some
amendment
changes, yeah.
to this, at the last, HPRC meeting where this was discussed. A motion was made, a COA was completed with a condition that the man door that's located within one of the two swinging doors be maintained. However, the HPRC did state that they were amenable to that door not being able to pivot independently, so that both of the swinging doors would swing, so it'd be more of a decorative function. And that is indicated on page A4 of the plan sets. So that's the primary alteration, and it does, that smaller door does have a laminate glass or polycarbonate piece to it for visual reference. I'm happy to invite Tim and Chris Hain to provide any more comment on the change in the plans.
So real quick, the major amendment is adding in what we required when we approved the COA last time.
Correct, so it's an update to the same COA. The nice thing is we do have the updated plan sets, and we did jump the gun just a little bit and did go out for bid on this. Have received bids, and we would like to move forward fairly quickly with this.
Okay, great.
Are the bids reasonable? What we allotted for it, just allotted for it.
I believe that is the case. I'd have to double check on that, but I do know that we're looking to just take an award of contract to council. So, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's our status. Or Andy's here too. So.
Any comment from Chris and Tim?
Hi. We weren't sure you wanted us to comment right then, but excuse us for that. Yeah, we did send that project out for bid, and we did receive we received a couple of, I'm sorry,
Three bids.
We received 3 bids. And the lowest bid is from a contractor that we've worked with on many of our projects. They specialize in historic preservation construction. So their bid was, I believe, around 127,000. And then the high bid was around 160,000. I don't have the numbers right here in front of me. Anyway, so we thought that Spectrum General Contractors, they were the low bidder. We thought they were qualified, and we're excited to move forward to work with them.
And the Spectrum General Contractors was the contractor that did the work on the Idaho Springs Library and the elevator addition. So you can see the quality of their work. They do good work. We've worked with them quite a bit in the past.
Great,
And they
thank you.
do, yeah, I did want to mention too that they do have a window and door shop. They specialize in window restoration and door restoration. So we're excited about that too. I think they're gonna, make that hose house look really beautiful again. They also have a really good masonry contractor who we've worked with before. In fact, we worked with them over at the Black American West Museum in Denver. We had a similar project where the brick had to be stripped of paint, and they did a really beautiful job with that. So, we're excited about it.
But this does need to come before the city, correct?
I believe the award of, actually it's still have to come before this.
Okay,
Council.
so it has not been awarded as of yet.
Correct, there, I believe it should be in the near future coming to the city council.
Can we talk a little bit about, in the original plans, it said in this door that it would be a laminate or poly carb or something like that. And when I went back and looked, I know that we had discussion prior about whether we wanted to keep an all wood door or a poly door. So I wanted to just revisit that if we could.
Absolutely.
Because I couldn't find anything in our minutes about where we ended up on that.
I thought that we ended up on the polycarbonate or laminate, but I could be wrong.
I think we did, but like I said, I remember the discussion that we discussed both.
Talked about it. You here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, we were on the HPRC at the time, and it was our understanding that we were to move forward with the polycarbonate. And also, it may have been Megan that suggested this, but to have that, that glass or polycarbonate in the door would allow people to be able to look inside the hose house. If you wanted to display firefighting equipment. So anyway, that is what I recall.
do you want to have more discussion about?
I have a question. On the narrative, on page 2, the last 2 paragraphs seem like it's leaning towards not keeping the man door. Can you sort of speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, that was our original, when we presented this project to the HPRC, we did include that narrative. And that was our recommendation at the time because the door is in such poor condition, the man door. But then the HPRC reviewed our drawings, and also the city staff reviewed our proposal, and it was decided to retain the man door, which is fine with us. We just, we had a couple of options in mind, either keep it or take the large door back to its original appearance. So we went with, what the HPRC, requested.
Decided.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There was, if I may, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not that door would be able to function. And there's definite concern about the structural integrity of the door as a whole if the man door function. Well, and that's where the HPRC had discussed that quite a bit, and everyone kind of came to a consensus that as long as the door didn't have to swing, it could be better reinforced and would be there for an aesthetic purpose and not a functional one.
Is that, and this may be for Chris and Tim, is that on A4 of the amendment where it says west door new interior? Is that what the plywood reinforcement is there to help as well?
Yes. Yes, it is.
That was a large concern, was the structural integrity of the
I remember
door
part
as
of
a
that
whole.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I do, that was in the COA that we approved. And you'll see if in our staff report about the suggested motion, that also includes that, to include the conditions smaller door remain. So that was approved as a condition on the last one.
Are we all good with the door, with the polycarbonate? I like the polycarbonate.
I like the polycarbonate.
So people can peek in,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, people like to look in buildings.
I like to look at buildings. We all do.
Great. Does anybody want to put forward a motion? There's a suggested motion on the back of the staff report.
I will.
Okay.
I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness for rehabilitation of the hose house number 2 to include the condition that the smaller door remain in an inoperable status.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Great, thank you.
May I ask, and I don't know where, because I know we have to do public, like let the public know. Can we add in I love Mike's suggestion about stretching a COA to a year for our next meeting? Can we add discussion about that?
Yeah, at a future meeting, we can, put under new business.
I would like that.
Does that fall to us or does that fall?
I mean, we can discuss something under new business and pretty much at any meeting, but, so if we want to discuss it later, otherwise staff will put it on the agenda.
But my question is, is that an HPRC decision or is that a city? Like a
So,
code?
so it'd be a city code item at the end of the day, so we
With a
can make a
recommendation.
recommendation. And it would go before city council as a text amendment to the ordinance.
Yes. Okay, and our last item of business tonight is our historic resource survey plan draft review. Do we have any public comment on our?
Oh, yeah.
So we have in our possession a draft of the I still can't say it, historic resource survey plan that Mary Therese put together. Mary Therese is here. So I would like to turn it over to Jared and Mary Therese.
All right, thank you very much. We're excited this evening to bring before you a first draft of the historic resource survey plan. You give me the thoughts that too. And so there's a plan that's been worked on over the past couple of years. We've run into a couple bumps along the way, especially when it came to public engagement. A lot of that was pandemic related and just trying to have meetings that people would attend and show them some of the resources that were provided here to review and to provide their observations in regards to. But at the end of the day, we've continued to move forward with this. As I mentioned, this is a first draft. We're just looking for comments, input, and all of those comments input don't necessarily have to come here this evening. We're happy to take those after the meeting. You can always email me and I can get comments to Mary Therese as well. Staff is still working through a comment response as well, but we didn't really want to slow things up any further. So we wanted to get out to all of you. This will be coming back before you at a subsequent meeting. As you might have noticed, there's some images that we're looking forward to receiving in a more finalized version of the plan. With that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Mary Therese Anstey and have any comments that she may have regarding the plan.
So Jared was very politic when he said that we've had a few bumps along the road. It almost felt like the project was doomed at certain parts. I had a real desire to call it the Murphy's Law plan because it seemed like anything that could go wrong has gone wrong on this project. But the upside of that is that because this was sort of a guinea pig project from the state, it was their very first pilot of doing the non-competitive survey plans. It actually is a great test of the fact that we could still accomplish the plan despite all of our bumps along the road. So basically what I did was there was some informal reconnaissance survey, no forms, just photos, and then an assessment of the previous survey work that you have done, which included a project in 1997, which was more actually HSAs, but did include some good information on about 12 buildings. 2002, it was a citywide recon that was very informal, and I discussed that in the survey plan. 2005 was the intensive survey of Colorado Boulevard, and then 2018 was the CDOT, HDR work for CDOT that included a lot of the things on the east side of town in particular. One of the it's kind of a standard scope of work that's required for these types of plans. And one of the things they ask is an assessment of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So I, of course, did that. And then ultimately came to 4 goals that are then have projects based upon them. So it's really about researching, which is talking about the preparation of historic contexts, documenting your historically and architecturally significant and physically intact historic sites. That's your survey. It's a survey plan, but it's got a little bit of other things in it as well. But goal 2 is where we're really talking about survey. Goal 3, engage with the citizens to increase local history knowledge. We had obviously our challenges during COVID period, but I did hear from when we talked with your group about what are some of the challenges you're facing too. We talked about kind of having to catch up with the public and keep the public on board and understanding what historic preservation is like in Idaho Springs. And then the 4th one is really to make sure that you're using anything that you develop. So those historic contexts and the architectural survey results, they shouldn't just sit on a shelf, but they should be used for their planning purposes and that kind of thing. The last thing that appears in this draft is an implementation chart that kind of sets the priority for what order these projects should be completed in, and also talks about who should be involved with the projects. And I think that is something that SHF has always expressed a real desire to see in these plans, because basically the plan is setting you up for enhanced success with grant applications that will follow this. And so if you say we're going to do this project as first and you reference the plan, then SHF really kind of knows that you have gone through the steps to really think through the process of what you want to do first, second, third, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of my short and sweet introduction to what the plan includes, what kind of how we got to where we are without a lot of the tragedies that happened to delay the process. But I'm willing to take comments or thoughts at this time, or if you prefer to have them in the written document, that's fine as well.
Thank you, Mary Therese.
Thank you.
I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read through all of this yet. It's a long document and it's a lot to cover. And we don't actually have anything to vote on tonight. We're just looking at it for the first time. I think initial impressions, if anyone has anything, this is our chance to ask questions of Mary Therese. But it might be better if we take some time to read through it and put together our thoughts and email them to Jared, rather than getting into a long discussion tonight. I mean, we can get into a long discussion tonight if you want to, but I just, I feel like it might be better if we have time to really look at it thoroughly before we do that. But anyone have questions, comments, first impressions tonight?
I thought overall it's a good plan. And I had just 2 minor comments. On page 11, there's a reference made to historic neighborhoods north and east of downtown, and might suggest also adding west of downtown.
Okay.
As a residential neighborhood that has historic structures.
Okay.
And then the other one is, you might not have found this because it was such a minor survey, but in 2020, there was County Road 314 did a survey that included 2 houses, and they were found to be not significant. And Jared would have those in the files for in 2020 for County Road 314.
Okay. The 4 that I looked at were based upon what the city had provided to me, and they had given me the guidance. Now, this was back when Alan was there, so obviously it's all been changed since then. But if you want me to look at the 2020 survey, I can definitely do that as well.
It's just to let you know for the sake of completeness, but again, it was very minor because there were only 2 buildings that were in the town.
Okay.
right, anyone else?
I thought it was I thought it was very well done. I like that it looked at our strengths and weaknesses. And I just would add a comment that I've lived in historic towns other than this. And when we look at community engagement, because that is a recurring theme in what Mary Therese was doing, trying to find recurring, in community engagement. I think one of the things we really have to focus on, and this may help with the state, I don't know, because I don't know that process, where we do interactive tours and we encourage people to include their personal histories. Because what I have found is when you have buildings that have a story or a history and people are aware of them, they're more personally invested in them. And I think that is something that we need to do, And I don't know where that fits in with this, but. I agree.
What is the time frame that we would like to actually formally adopt this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm hoping to be able to move forward at the next meeting.
Okay.
Of course, it is up to the commission if they want to, if they still have questions after receiving a draft with images, etc. But that's my goal, is to move forward. I know that we have asked for a couple of extensions, etc. And so we're trying to get that completed here in the near future.
Do we know when we're gonna get a draft with the images? Therese?
I was really hoping that you would have one by now, but as this project has been plagued with different issues, my subcontractor who does my document formatting, he actually had his daughter was in the hospital with a rather serious injury and had to be life flighted down to Denver. So I am not pushing him on that. I am, but he has started working on it, and he's usually got a pretty quick turnaround. I've sent everything to him, so I'll just have to keep you posted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely would like to see some of the images.
Yeah. Does everybody think, what is our next meeting? Would be, what's the date? When do we meet? Second Tuesday, third
I
Tuesday?
believe it's the third Tuesday.
19th.
July
So
19th?
yeah, it'd be the 19th, correct.
Would it? I don't want to put pressure on your subcontractor, certainly, but could we, as the commission, have comments on content to Jared by next Tuesday? Oh no, that's a holiday in there. Shoot. Could you guys do it before next Tuesday? Even with the holiday, to read through the document, any content comments? No? Okay.
There's a lot of information to be
There is.
digested.
Can we get it by the 12th? 2 weeks from
Um,
tonight?
I was going to say either that or maybe around the 8th, and then that would give us a full week, almost a full week, not quite, because we do put together packets
Right,
on the 14th. So
okay.
would that be possible? You're correct, the holiday in there will that might take away some of that weekend
Yeah.
time that you may have otherwise had available, but
Let's say the 8th, Friday, July 8th. If everyone can have comments, and if we get the document with photos by then, great. If not, but we can still certainly have comments on content without the photos, I think, so. Everybody good with that? And do not send your comments to everyone or to me, but send them to Jared.
yep, I just want to make sure we are operating within the sunshine law.
Yes.
I did have one other comment I wanted to make while we're all here together. And that the report, I think, correctly notes the concern about, as a threat, development pressure occurring. But sort of the opposite side of the coin is right now, we're not at a point where there's a lot of pressure to make substantial alterations to a lot of the small historic houses. So I think there's sort of a timeliness issue, because it's hard to say how long will it last before people start wanting to put in bigger things or different things. So I think it's just a matter of a certain urgency because of that.
Yeah, I think so. All right, anything else that we want to talk about on the plan tonight before we adjourn? Is everybody good with Friday the 8th?
Yes.
Okay. I think that sounds doable. And then before we adjourn, let's if we can get on the agenda to talk about the length of time for the COA then for our next meeting as well.
Right.
And we'll hopefully plan to talk about our survey plan next meeting. So, yeah, and so our next meeting will be Tuesday, July 19th.
And
At 6 o'clock?
yes, so I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. We spoke at our February work session about the time, and we did come to the conclusion that 6 o'clock was good, so please let me know if, yeah, we also decided that we would kind of see how that went. So please let me know if you have differing opinions now and now that it's summer. So always happy to take input.
I like 6 o'clock.
Okay, I think it worked out pretty well this evening.
Yeah.
We had great attendance,
Right?
so, with the audience as well.
That is everything on our agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We are adjourned at 6:44 PM.
Thank you.